Hello OZ military friends. Well, in this video we will discuss the US Senate directs Pentagon to explore transferring retired A-10s to Royal Jordanian Air Force. The legendary Warthog may find a new home in the Middle East. The United States Senate Committee on Armed Services has directed the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin III, to explore the possibility of transferring retired Fairchild Republic A-10C Thunderbolt A-10s to Jordan. In the fiscal year 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, bill released on July 8, the committee outlined the potential transfer of the attack aircraft to Jordan with the requirement that the Secretary of Defense also assess Jordan's ability to maintain the aircraft on their own. The bill, potentially funding the Department of Defense and Department of Energy with a top line of $911.8 billion, €838.9 billion, would also authorize the Air Force to retire 56 A-10s, 65 F-15Ds, and 11 F-16Cs, etc. Notably, the committee is still barring the retirement of any F-22s or F-15s, stating they do not agree with the Air Force assertion that retirement of the F-15E and F-22 aircraft would result in acceptable risk. The A-10s are expected to be fully retired by 2029. The bill also made recommended provisions for continued partnership between Jordan and U.S. Central Command to establish further capabilities for countering air and missile threats from Iran and Iranian-linked groups within Jordan. The announcement naming Jordan as a potential operator of the A-10 came just a few months after Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall III noted that one country was interested in obtaining the type. In another report, former Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov claimed to have asked the United States for 100 A-10s in the weeks after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where Secretary Austin shot down the idea, saying the airplanes were too dated to be survivable against Russian air defenses. In 2003, the U.S. Air Force also met with Colombian officials about leasing a squadron of A-10s for a role in their counter-drug fight. The plan was eventually abandoned, with Air Combat Command deciding against it. Jordan has not publicly expressed interest in the Warthogs, but one can assume interest if they've been specifically singled out in the bill. Either way, the Middle Eastern nation has been very active in the counter-terrorism fight in the region and could certainly benefit from a proven counter-insurgency platform. The Royal Jordanian Air Force could be looking to broaden their ground attack capabilities. The service is a current operator of both the F-16AM BM Fighting Falcon and A-1 Cobra, and last year signed a deal for brand new F-16B Block 70/72 Vipers. The addition of the A-10 to their fleet could allow their F-16s to take on more air-to-air missions like they recently performed when shooting down Iranian drones headed to Israel on April 13. Generally speaking, the A-10 can still play a major role in many scenarios. Besides its relatively low operational costs and logistical footprint, as well as its ability to operate from unimproved airfields and roadways, the HOG is able to carry out a wide variety of tasks beyond the pure CAS, close air support, including much in-demand COIN, counter-insurgency missions, while bringing both tactical and socio-psychological value to an air arm. Anyway, the Senate directive adds yet another layer to the age-old question: when, if ever, will the U.S. Air Force's A-10s retire, and where will they end up? Say this out loud. Give the A-10 Warthog to the U.S. Army. The A-10's unparalleled endurance, firepower, and ability to operate in degraded environments make it essential for ground troops. Despite its age, the A-10 remains a critical asset, and some suggest transferring it to the Army to preserve its invaluable capabilities, especially with the looming threat of great power conflicts. Summary and key points. The A-10's unparalleled endurance, firepower, and ability to operate in degraded environments make it essential for ground troops. Despite its age, the A-10 remains a critical asset, and some suggest transferring it to the Army to preserve its invaluable capabilities, especially with the looming threat of great power. A-10 Warthog, the battle-tested beast that refuses to retire while working on Capitol Hill, I was asked to participate in discussions over funding for the F-35 Lightning II and the A-10 Warthog. During those days of defense budget sequestration, funds were limited by an agreement made between Congress and then-President Barack Obama. Because of the limits, the Pentagon was being forced to choose between funding pre-existing systems, such as the A-10, or newer systems that would define the future, such as the F-35. Walking into the first meeting, my bias was toward the F-35. The meetings changed my mind. As part of our meetings, proponents for both platforms were asked to make their cases for why one of these systems should be prioritized over the other. The most impressive arguments came from the A-10 supporters. A group of former Special Forces operators came armed with gun camera footage from an A-10 to describe in detail how the Warthog saved their lives during an ambush conducted by the Taliban against their unit in the dusty foothills of Afghanistan. For hours, the A-10 hovered over the battle space, getting within virtual spitting distance of the entrenched Taliban positions, and rained down a hellfire of molten lead and explosives. The A-10 saves lives according to the Special Forces operators who were recounting their story to us. The A-10's persistent presence over their heads saved their lives. What's more, that platform allowed the commandos to achieve their objectives. The Army's A-10 Warthog must be retired ASAP. The U.S. The Air Force has begun retiring its A-10 Warthogs, with the first wave of aircraft from Davis-Monthan Air Force Base sent to the Boneyard. The process will continue throughout the year, with all A-10s from the base slated for retirement, reflecting a shift towards more advanced fighter jets. Summary and key points. The U.S. The Air Force has begun retiring its A-10 Warthogs, with the first wave of aircraft from Davis-Monthan Air Force Base sent to the Boneyard. The process will continue throughout the year, with all A-10s from the base slated for retirement, reflecting a shift towards more advanced fighter jets. The A-10, celebrated for its unparalleled close air support capabilities, is being phased out as the U.S. military pivots to confront modern threats where stealth and speed are paramount. While the A-10 excelled in past conflicts, its outdated design makes it less suitable for contemporary warfare, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region. The A-10 Warthog retirement watch has begun. The long-debated, long-resisted A-10 Warthog retirement is officially underway. The first crop of A-10s from Davis-Monthan Air Force Base's 355th Wing were transferred to the Boneyard, where they will rest in perpetuity. February's retirements are just the beginning. The 355th Wing intends to retire its entire A-10 squadron